we figured we were having pretty quantifiable gospel reach with about 2 million people annually. Basically, just through the normal stuff that we do
Hmm.
um, in the countries that we do it. And we just thought, okay, with this being the 85th year of our ministry, and we've been celebrating that a little bit, what if we just came up with a bit of a challenge to all of our countries to say, hey, what if we did a little bit more and trusted God to do something awesome? What could we do?
Mm.
Um, and so that's where we came up with the idea of, well, if we've been able to do 2 million relatively easy, what if we tried five? And so the idea came up of, okay, well, let's do eternity 5 million, and let's get every country to have focused gospel reach in 1 month.
First, give me some backstory. What do you do, Scott? What do you get to do? How long you been there? And then we'll jump into the challenge that you guys have going on.
Yeah. So just quick about Word of Life. So Word of Life is a non-denominational youth ministry that's been doing ministry for about 85 years now. And our founder, Jack Wurtson, was really all about evangelism.
Mhm.
And so it started in the mid 1940s in New York City with major evangelistic rallies in New York City and spread across the country. And it grew into not just evangelism, but a camping ministry, Bible institutes. So now we're in 87 countries, pretty much doing the same thing globally as far as youth evangelism, discipleship curriculum for students, 16 Bible colleges, and we're the largest Christian camping organization in the world. So a lot of stuff going on. So
And
that's,
you get to do what? What do you get to do for them?
yeah, so I'm the vice president of growth and strategy for the global ministry. So I work with all the vice presidents on their strategic planning, any type of global initiative where we're looking to work together to achieve a common goal. I'm in the midst of that, helping with that, doing a lot of quarterbacking, coordination. Um, because we've got 1,600 missionaries in 87 countries, just a lot of moving parts, and just making sure that we're all kind of rowing together is one of the things I really focus on. So I help all the different regions of the world develop goals for their region and then help the regional directors execute that with all the countries in their regions.
Mm. Now, I'm going to ask you this question. This doesn't have to do with exactly the challenge. We'll get to that in a second. Let me ask you, what are you seeing? We live. It's almost like we see this. We live in this time, right, where at least in America, and we don't want to call it revival. Maybe it's a little bit of an awakening. You're seeing it a lot on college campuses, which I'm sure that you have been able to be a part of or have seen. What are you seeing, not just across America, but globally, as evangelism is taking place? Are you seeing kind of a an uptick? We could say a hunger. What are you seeing across the world?
No, that's a great way of putting it, Jesse. It is so interesting in Western culture how we oftentimes have the blinders on that what is Western culture is what is happening globally. And it's not. Um, Even though there's been like a bit of a uptick here in the States, it seems like it feels somewhat like you mentioned, college campuses and that sort of thing. There seems to be, and with athletes, being more vocal,
Yes.
there definitely seems to be much more as the days get darker, it's almost like the light of the gospel is getting brighter.
Mm,
Um, and we're definitely seeing that globally. We're in some countries that are pretty dark and have traditionally been very close to Christianity, where we're just seeing gospel explosion.
Mm.
Um, and doing it through some pretty creative means, through sports ministry and street evangelism and evangelistic rallies and peer-to-peer evangelism, and um, just really seeing God do some pretty awesome things. So yeah, we've been able to get into some places and some schools and share Christ. And yeah, I mean, God's just really been blessing. I don't know if it's just a sign of, that we're living in the last days or what, but
Mm.
just so many people coming to Christ, um,
Right.
which is so awesome.
Right.
Um, it's so cool to see. And here in our campus here in New York, like we'll get into this when we talk about turning 5 million, but we just sent out students, all of our sophomore students were just sent out to do a 10-day cross-cultural experience and do gospel reach on another continent.
Oh, wow.
And most of them left last night. A lot of them are leaving today. We're talking South America, Africa, Europe, um, Taiwan. My son just got on a plane this morning to go to Taiwan.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
so yeah, some pretty cool things.
That's really cool. All right. So yeah, now I want to talk about what have you guys developed? Obviously, to that you're in the this sounds crazy saying it, you're in the business of spreading the gospel, right? You're equipping, you're encouraging, you're pushing out, like you just said. We're going, getting people to go to other continents. It's almost like you're not you're forcing them. It's like you got to go out. We're kicking you out of the nest, right? And go and spread the gospel. What Tell me about the what you guys have developed to even kind of spread that more. There's a challenge that you guys have created and kind of a vision, a goal that you guys have seen. Explain what that is.
Yeah, so we try to track gospel reach every year. And which can be a challenge when you're in 87 countries and what's that look like? And um about a year ago, we were able to determine that we figured we were having pretty quantifiable gospel reach with about 2 million people annually. Basically just through the normal stuff that we do
Hmm.
um, in the countries that we do it. And we just thought, okay, with this being the 85th year of our ministry, and we've been celebrating that a little bit, what if we just came up with a bit of a challenge to all of our countries to say, hey, what if we did a little bit more and trusted God to do something awesome? What could we do?
Mm,
And so that's where we came up with the idea of, well, if we've been able to do 2 million relatively easy, what if we tried five? And so the idea came up of, okay, well, let's do eternity 5 million, and let's get every country to have focused gospel reach in 1 month. We thought one day wouldn't be long enough. 1 week wouldn't give enough all the countries to kind of do it together. So we said, okay, just during the month, at any point in the month, just every country is going to focus on really pouring gas on gospel reach.
mm,
And if we really focused on this together and just like created some synergy with each other, what could we see God do?
hmm.
So that was the challenge. It was okay, the month of April 2025, we are going to seek to have gospel reach with 5 million people globally. So yeah, we started a few days ago, and it's been pretty cool to see so far some of the things that God has done.
That is really cool. Is there any way, now I know you guys are doing this within Word of Life, is there a way that people can watch it happen, get involved? Tell us, is there any way that that can happen?
Yeah, no, great question. So we really focused on three ways that we encouraged our ministries and churches and people to participate. So it was getting your church involved in just going out and sharing the gospel. That was one way. The other way was using social media as a tool to share your testimony. Um, and And that has been one of the most effective ways that we think we're going to get significant gospel reach. So we
Mm,
developed some tools to teach someone how to quickly share your testimony, which can be a real challenge for some Christians because they get
yes.
intimidated and they don't think they're going to say the right things, and they feel like they got to like have a PhD in apologetics to share their testimony, and you don't. It's simply your story of how you came to Christ. And so we've been encouraging in all of our networks, try to get people to share their 60 to 90-second testimony on their social media feeds with the hashtag E5M.
Mm,
And we've already seen people around the world start to do that. You can imagine when even just that in and of itself starts to happen, exponentially, your gospel reach just explodes. Um,
mm.
and other things like events and getting on the radio and sharing what we're doing and talking about the gospel in those forums. In some places, like in India, getting into schools and accelerating what they're doing with soccer ministry has just really been effective. So yeah, we're pretty stoked to see what God's doing.
Do you guys have a website that you can go to check that out? What is it?
Yeah, so we have a site that's dedicated to Eternity 5 Million, which is itrustinChrist.com.
Okay.
And at that site, you can go and report your gospel reach. Anyone in the world can go on there and say, "Yeah, I shared Christ on an airplane with a friend," or, you
Hmm.
know, was in my classroom and shared Christ with my classmates. You can go on to that website, itrustinChrist.com, click the gospel reach reporting button, and then just enter in your numbers there. There's also a
Very
place
cool.
on there. This is another thing too, Jesse, that we've developed. We created a 60-second gospel video um,
Mm,
that is animated and just clearly and simply explains what the gospel is. So let's say someone's not really comfortable with going on to social media and sharing their testimony. Well, then just
yes.
share this
Yes.
video. Just share this to Facebook. And um, we've already got, at least in the last couple of days, 66,000 views on that. And it just continues to climb every day. Um, so yeah, those would be a couple different ways that people could be involved. So we don't want people to think, well, that's something that someone's doing, in another country. You can do this. You can share Christ on your socials. You could share this
Right.
video. You could really help us hit this 5 million goal.
Right. That is awesome. And yeah, it's such an encouragement to hear. You're like, hey, listen, this isn't just about us. This is about everybody. We're the church. Let's join in and let's do this. Last question, and this is I kind of want to give you the floor. If you had the microphone and you were like, and whatever you said just translates, it goes out to, let's say, the American church. Let's just put it that way. And from your world and what you see, especially revolving around evangelism, what would you tell the American church today?
No, it's a great question. It's actually something I've thought a lot about. Um, so I was in pastoral ministry for a number of years in South Jersey. Um, a church that was a great church, growing as far as their depth and their discipleship and their walk with the Lord, but I'd probably say comfortable
Mm,
and almost like church had become similar to swimming or karate or golf. It's
hmm.
like one of the pieces of your pie that you knock out,
Yeah.
um, as opposed to Christ and his message being in and all of everything that you are and do. Um, and making the mission of the Great Commission the foremost priority of your life, regardless of the occupation that you're in. That it just seems in Western culture, we've become so much like a country club.
Mm,
Um, and the sacrifices needed to make the Great Commission what it needs to be seems to be lacking. And I
yes.
know that a lot of blanket statements there, and that's not the case, obviously, everywhere. I'm just speaking in generalities here.
Right,
Um,
right.
what you see in Asia with meeting um, underground and um, how the church is just booming and thriving and growing significantly in places like the Koreas and Japan and China. Um, why is that? There's a
Mm,
fire, a passion, a desire to um, live like Christ in a radical way that Western culture just seems to be in a lot of ways in cruise control.
mm,
Um, so, it's just interesting here, Jesse, as we engage with a lot of college students on our campus, they
yeah.
pick up on a lot of that. They grew up in some of that. They've seen a lot of their parents live like that, and we're
Hmm.
trying to train them to really have just a gospel-based mindset as you go out into life.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and to really let that be the driving influence of everything that you do. It's just like we had this mentality that, we've got forever and that we're going to live forever and that Jesus isn't coming back. And no, James 2 says we are all going to die. And Jesus made it pretty clear, I'm coming back. So one of
Hmm.
those two things is going to happen. We don't necessarily know the order, but it's going to happen. And we
Yes,
need to live that way.
exactly. Yeah, amen. And thank you for that. It's so I can ditto exactly and echo exactly what you're saying in a lot of the circles that I see as well. We and you're seeing that booming, right? In some of those countries that you talked about, because there is an uncomfortability in that. They're uncomfortable. And so it is not that and some of them are being persecuted, yes, for because they're, if they speak the gospel, they could be thrown in jail or whatever. But we live in that comfort in America where it's just like, hey, I can talk
Yeah.
about whatever and whenever. And so I guess I'll just pick and choose what I like,
Yeah.
instead of being forced to talk about God, which should be our all in all. So I appreciate that. It's a huge encouragement. Thank you.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. You're
so
welcome.
yeah, yeah. Well, brother, it's been an honor, and yes, I appreciate what you're doing here. I want to get the word out. So yeah, everybody go to the website, check it out. This is awesome, brother. Thank you, Scott. Thank you for what you do.
Yeah. Thanks, Jesse.